indictment. I know we gave it to them because it was in the stack of stuff. I think maybe it got, I don't know what happened, but at any rate, I did give them another copy. I assume there was no objection from the state.
Yeah,
Okay, none from the defense. Mr. Bozarth was here in the room, so I just wanted to put that on the record that he didn't have any objection. You guys weren't here, and I just wanted them to have it. So.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
They should have the indictment.
Okay. All right, then, well, where's Mr. Welty?
He's going to be a few minutes around.
He is. Can we go ahead?
Yes.
Okay. Tell me when you have it queued up.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Let's get that ready to go. Also have the video queued up to the point where you wanted me to start. I believe the corresponding portion of the transcript begins at the bottom of page 9, somewhere around there. And then if you would, just raise your hand and let me know when we get to the place that you want to stop.
All right.
Okay? All right, go ahead, Ms. Hodder. Oh, wait, hold on. Somebody missing a transcript? Okay. Okay, tell me when you're ready. Bottom of page 9 is what I was told. Okay. All right, Ms. Hodder, go ahead.
So earlier, myself said quickly, let's get that is true. We are not from Phoenix Police Department. We are from DeKalb County, Georgia Police Department. Did you ever live in Georgia?
I did live there for a while.
Okay. Your heart just started racing a little bit.
Wondering if I did something wrong.
Where in Georgia did you live?
Atlanta?
Do you know where in Atlanta?
Decatur,
Who do you live with in Decatur?
well, I did have a child. He hasn't been with me since he was little. When I moved out there, it was just me.
Okay. How old was your kid?
6.
6. Where's he at?
I have not had any contact with him in a long time.
Did he go to Department of Children and Families with a family member?
No, I didn't have a family member. I was in a homeless shelter for a while. And a lady that I met let me stay with her, and I wasn't able to take care of him. And so she said that she would take care of him until I was able to get myself together and be able to take care of him.
So when's the last time you heard from him?
It had to be maybe a year or so after I left from Georgia. I went back to Charlotte to try and get a job and everything. And it was about a year after that.
What's his name?
Well,
And how old was he?
almost 7. Is something wrong with her?
Did you ever, try to find him?
I didn't talk to her about that.
Who's his dad?
His dad has really been in his life.
Okay. Have you talked to his dad at all?
I have no idea where he could be or anything. Actually, never really.
Remember his name?
His name was William also.
Okay. So, do you remember what area in Decatur you lived in?
I do not.
Okay.
So very long
Was
time.
apartment complex a house?
I do. I never do. shelter.
Sure, so I'm gonna be real with you. I went through a timeline of where you live now, all the way back.
Okay.
We got all the way through to North Carolina. I said, did you live anywhere else? You said, no, you were born in North Carolina.
That's what I was wondering.
I get it. But you left out Atlanta until you knew I was from Atlanta. And then you threw in Atlanta. I know why you did that. I know where you're...
I'm sorry.
So you believe, I want you to look me in the face, and I want you to tell me that you believe that right now you have a 30-ish-year-old son named William. You believe that?
Do I believe that?
Yeah.
Yes.
You believe that?
Yes. What do you mean, do I believe that?
Because I don't.
You don't believe I have a... I don't understand. You don't believe I have a son?
Well, it's kind of important, like where the kids live. Like I need to know, like you remember the street or anything like that?
I don't.
This is about 1999-ish.
It was good. I don't remember.
Glenwood, Candler, Lowercrest, Black Shoals, Clifton Church, Clifton Springs, Memorial.
I don't know. It was a long time ago. I don't remember any streets.
But the last you remember is you left him with some female homeless shelter. And remember her name?
Trisha. I don't remember her last name.
Trisha. So, do you remember a female named Ava?
Ava?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
In Colorado. Take your time. I know we're talking about years ago, so take your time, James.
Georgia? No.
Well, kind of North Carolina.
I didn't know someone in North Carolina area, but yeah, Charlotte.
Okay. Do you remember, I don't expect you to, but I gotta ask. Do you remember a conversation when Ava asked you, hey, so where's William? And you said he wanted to stay with his father's parents, his grandparents on his father's side. Remember that?
Not specifically, but I do remember her asking where he was, and I didn't want to tell her that I was.
Well, his father's parents at that time were deceased, so there's no way he could have stayed with his father's parents.
I know that.
So we talked to his father. We met with his father. And I know time for talk, and you were at a different point in your life back then. I'm not judging you. I'm not. I need you to be real. You know, this room is very important. Okay? Lies change in this room. I need you to be very specific with me, because if something happened back when you were a young single mother and you got scared or anything like that, I need you to tell me. Because I know where William is, and I think you do.
I don't. You know where he is? Of course, I did not do the right thing. I know that I should have left him.
That is William.
I want.
He died in 1999.
What? No.
Yes.
No.
Yes. His bones were found.
No. No. No.
Yeah. It took us actually about 18 years to discover whose bones they were. So what we did was we went and met William Sr. and we took a DNA sample from William Sr. to compare against the bones that were found in this field. It comes back as a high probability. We've done a lot of homework since then, which brought us to Phoenix, right? What we're going to ask you is to consent to DNA to prove that identified young male is your son. And I'm gonna be honest with you, Teresa. Times are tough. Back in '99, you were a young, single female. I'm not buying that you left your 7-year-old with some unknown female. I'm not buying it. I'm not.
So you think that I did
No,
something to him?
I don't. I absolutely don't. I absolutely don't. But I do think something happened. I think he became ill. I have his school records, his immunization records, his birth certificate. There's never been a report made of a missing person. I think something unfortunate happened, that you were scared. I'm not saying you killed anybody. This ain't 1994. But I think something happened and you panicked and left Georgia. That's what I think. And it's more than just you being on tough times at a shelter and giving your 6 or 7-year-old son to a stranger. That didn't happen. Teresa, look at me.
I would never, I know I shouldn't have left him, but I would never hurt him.
I never said you did. No one said he's murdered. I'm not.
This is John Doe, isn't that what that means?
No, it's because we didn't have a name for years.
Oh my God, okay. So the first, I'm confused.
Ask me a question.
Okay, you talked to his father, you talked to his father, and he goes in and just and that saying that it's a match.
Yes.
Okay.
But when you don't have both biological parents, it's not a. So, William, his father, it is like a 1 in 50 million chance that he's not the father. But 1 in 50 million isn't enough to say, yep, 100%. Now, I know 99.99999% yes. So what we're going to ask is for your DNA to confirm that it was 100% definite. Because when you have DNA samples from both biological parents to compare against DNA from his bones, I know it will be a match, but I have to, it's something serious. You can't just guess, right?
Right.
So that's what prosecutors, and we want to hear what story you got. And I'm hearing your story.
And you don't believe me?
I mostly do. But in my mind, I feel like in the last 22-ish years since 1999, that you dreaded that this day might come where you would have to answer some questions as far as where your son is. I don't believe that you left your son with a stranger at a homeless camp. I don't. And we've done this together for a long time. 1,000 times. I'm not judging you. I'm not mad at you. I respect you. Everyone has a story. I need the real story. A lot of time and effort. So look, this came from the National Centers for Missing and Exploited Children, okay, in Washington, D.C. There has been years of work to prove who this child is, a 7-year-old child that bones were found, okay? It's a big media thing. It's a big social media following. I don't accept, and I'm not always right, but I don't accept times were tough and I was in a shelter for a while and I just gave my 7-year-old to a stranger. And we can debate the definition of a stranger, that's not what we're here today too. But I need the real story.
That is the real
Because
story.
I'm not giving you the whole story. Like I can't show you all my cards, I'm giving you pieces to the puzzle, but there are things that I know about your son that I'm not going to disclose with you right now. I just can't for the integrity of the case. But I'm telling you, did you ever report missing? No. I know.
Like Clifton said, we're not here to judge. We're here to find truth. We're truth seekers. He's been unidentified. doing this together for about that long of time. And we've talked to people that have sat in chairs just like this that are really bad people. We talk to people in this chair that are not bad people. There's a mistake, or somebody panicked, or just something so bad happened that you did not know, or that person did not know how to react. And I know a lot of times you look at the police, you know what I'm saying, and we get that. If you're here to tell me, no, we're here to find the truth about what happened to me. And it made me hard for you to say what happened. I truly get that. Just looking at him right now, I can see this was a facial reconstruction that the National Center did. It was a clothes that he was found in, his boots. Teresa. Yes, ma'am. And I believe you know that for 23 years as well. This is, I can't imagine the emotional stuff that she's going through right now. But from a human to a human, from parent to a parent. You know, yes, this person is dead. This child is dead. Our job is to figure out what happened. Whether it be accidental, a freak accident.
Well, do you know how he died? Do you know how he died?
And I believe you did too.
So you do think that there's something out of my son?
I never said that you did anything to hurt him. Okay? There have been plenty of cases that both he and I have worked where a child passes overnight from SIDS, from
Being sick,
being sick.
and they're scared to call 911 because they don't trust the police.
Exactly. And they do what they felt is the most big thing to do. Okay. He was found near a cemetery.
Yes, cemetery.
So with that person was trying to do the right thing. So we gotta figure out what happened with you. And there's only one person that holds the answer to it. That's you.
No, it really is not me.
Where do you go to school at?
And we're in Georgia?
I know, you go to school.
No, we want to know.
Where did you go to school at? Charlotte.
Yeah, I got a dress for the name of the school.
Okay.
No, he didn't go to school in Charlotte.
What grades?
From first again. So sorry, so long time ago, I'm trying to think.
So what brought you back to Georgia from North Carolina? What brought you to Georgia?
It's really tough to, lost my job. So I was trying to find a new start. Because I had family when I already felt that to help. And so I said, well, there's a good place to start over, and be leave my job. It didn't turn out that way.
How you got to Georgia? You take a bus?
I took a bus.
Where'd you go to the bus?
And I think I found there's all the places where you can ask for like shelters and stuff on. And found a tuition. Well, I found a hotel first. I had enough money to stay there for I think a little couple of weeks. And then money ran out really quick. And I found information about the shelters that were like downtown.
How long do you think you were in Georgia total? Like how many months?
I don't remember. I don't remember how long.
Was it wintertime, summertime?
It wasn't cold. I don't think it was winter. It wasn't really cold.
Have you ever told anybody else that you had a child and you, whatever your version of the story might have been, did you tell anybody else ever?
Well, yeah, people know that I had a child. People had a child, and I didn't want to tell them that I had nothing, so I did tell them that he went to stay with family.
Did you tell the state no?
No.
When was the last time you told him he was dead?
Years.
I think he was able to see your son at least once, I think. Right? Does that sound right?
But he was very, very,
Like 2 or 3?
very, very little. Yeah, and I really didn't have any contact with my dad.
So they never reached out to you to say, where's my kid?
No, I wasn't talking at all.
Don't you know what he says? I'm just letting you know. I'm not saying it's true. Just throwing it out there.
So you didn't reach out to him for when you were, say you were leaving him with the lady at the homeless shelter?
Did I reach out to his dad?
Yeah, to say, hey,
No, but he had never done anything. So he wouldn't be able to do anything.
But I would just think he would get first dibs. You know, hey, look, I'm going through my own things. I'm not able to care for the child. So you want to take care of them so I can get my act together. Like, I would think he would get first dibs before some chick at home shelter. That's just my thought.
I didn't.
Oh, yeah, I get it. But like I said, I wasn't in your shoes back then. I'm not judging. So did you ever actually live in an apartment or a house with a roommate at any point when you were in Georgia?
I never had my own place or any place. I stayed in shelters mostly. Another lady I now met, she worked at a club. I stayed at her house for a couple of months, but I never really had my own place or anything like that. Or any roommates that I lived with as far as like signings or anything like that.
I'm not looking for like, I don't technically, you might not have been on leave, but did you like befriend somebody that said, hey, you can crash at my place for a while or something like that?
Just the lady that I work with, I work at a strip club.
Remember her name?
Shirley?
Or what strip club she worked at?
Pleasure, something like that.
In Atlanta?
Yeah. Oh, it was in Georgia. Yeah. Pleasure, something like that.
You want to consent to your DNA address?
Yes.
I know it's not real comfortable, I apologize.
we gotta play by their rules. Sorry.
So I'm going to tell you, one other thing that happens in this room that I think is important is you understanding that this is the only time we're going to talk. Whatever you have to give as far as your story is today. There won't be, you know what, I have to tell you A, B, and C tomorrow. Okay? We're going out drinking tonight, and then we're going to be on an airplane Thursday going back to Atlanta, and we have to have a meeting with a whole lot. We're going to go through this story. I've been doing this long enough. I'm going to tell you what a whole lot of people are going to say. You know what they're going to say?
They're not going
They're
to
gonna say,
go
no, they're going to be a little different. They're going to say, Teresa, full of shit. That's what they're going to say. So, I don't know you. However, we knew that we were going to come and ask you for a sample of your DNA. Constitutionally, you have a right to decline that. So the folks in Phoenix here, they worked with us and they got a court order signed by a judge ordering us the ability to take your DNA to be sent for comparison. That DNA is going to match and this is going to be your kid.
Yeah, I just gave consensus.
No, I know, but I had to assume, just in case, right? I play the worst case scenario game. And then we're going to look at the facts. The facts are you had a child, actually have a copy of the birth certificate that you signed for him. He went to school in North Carolina up until like 2nd grade, I think, maybe. And then he leaves school, he comes to Georgia, and February of 1999, his bones are discovered in a field. Now, his body had been there 4-ish months before anyone found the bones. And I'm just saying factually, you just go on about your life. You go to Alaska, you meet Nathan, you guys come back down here, you guys have your ups and downs, he ends up moving out, I know we got in some fight like a month ago, and nothing's ever brought up, there's no missing person report, there's no whatever. I believe, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to just tell you what I believe. And there's things I can't 100% disclose to you. I believe that your 7-year-old at the time became ill. I believe your son died naturally from that illness. I believe you made a poor decision because whatever reason, whether don't trust the police, scare the police, those are all reasonable. Don't have any family, reasonable. Not stable, reasonable. And you let it ride. Teresa, I'm going to tell you, if I'm close to the story that I just said, it is very important that you tell me, because those are my words, not your words. And I'm going to tell you, Teresa, I have a family, he has a family, and kids change the dynamics of family. Okay? They do. Teresa, I believe that you knew today was going to come someday. Look at my face. Am I wrong? Am I at? Come here. Am I at? Tell me what happened, William. It's just us in this room. And I know you didn't hurt your kid. I know. I know things I can't tell you. And I just can't let you know that I know.
Oh my God. I didn't know. I know something was wrong. I know that I wasn't able to feed him right. We were eating out. And we weren't even at the shelter today. We were trying to sleep on like the bitches and do where we could just find a place that was as, you know, and the park or wherever. And she started, and wouldn't want to talk or wouldn't want to get up and I didn't know what to do because I figured, okay, maybe he's just really hungry. I gotta find something to eat. And so I was trying to find something to eat. And that didn't seem to help much. anything. And so we didn't stuff. I was like, I was careful, and I was like, okay. I can find something that we can do this. And I said, yeah, a few ways. And I'll find somebody to help us. And we got some of the sleep like in forest. We was having stroke. And we laid down for the night, and it wasn't in a park. It wasn't like the woods or anything, but it was like more trees and stuff where it was away from the road. And we laid down, and when I woke up, he didn't wake up. He didn't wake up. And I didn't know what to do. You know, I sat there for a couple of days and I didn't know what to do. Because I didn't know what was wrong. I thought it was just that he wasn't eating enough. And I didn't expect that to happen. I was going to try and do what I could. And I didn't know what to do.
Do you remember, I don't want to prompt you. Did you have like a cough or anything? Or did you give him cough syrup or anything? Do you remember? Try to make him feel better?
He was not throwing up, like gagging. And I gave him, I don't remember what it was. It wasn't liquid, it was like a lozenge. And I think I gave him that. I don't know if I had cough syrup. I tried to give him whatever I could to stop. I didn't know what was wrong with him.
Did you ever call 911 or anything for an ambulance?
I did. He said that his license was wrong, and I should have done it.
I'm just asking, Teresa. I'm just asking. I'm trying to help. I'm just asking. So you stayed there. So you like did you leave him there? Did you move him at all? Bury him at all?
No. I don't know. Bury him.
How old are you? About 21. 20. Okay. Back then, were you using any kind of drugs or anything back then? I'm just asking, I'm not judging.
I was drinking a lot.
Any cocaine, marijuana?
Cocaine sometimes or whatever somebody would do. Yeah.
Feel better now?
I do, but I don't.
Have you ever relived it yet?
I've never stopped, actually. Relive it. And what I did, go back to North Carolina. I went back because I was going to try to tell somebody something, and I didn't, because I thought people would have thought that I something heard of it, and then I kept trying to say that I didn't do that. I didn't tell somebody something. I didn't say something, and then I didn't.
Do you remember those shoes?
There was something close like that. Oh my God.
Do you believe like he was suffering from, malnourishment?
I think that's what it was. I mean, I wasn't feeding him. was not able to eat very much. Three-quarters of an hour. I don't know exactly what was wrong.
What was his symptoms? Or what was cold and sore throat? Say he had a headache? What kind of stuff?
Just lethargic, weak, tired.
Yeah.
Have you told anybody else? Does your daughter know? I mean, I'm not saying the whole story, but does she know? She wasn't born yet. Does she know? Does she think she might have a sibling out there?
Okay, you're ready.
That's kind of probably a better question.
Thank you. All right. Leave the transcripts here, those don't go back with you, and let us know if you have any other questions. Okay. You can take the Kleenex.
I got it.
Is everybody good? Okay, thank you. All right, I understand we have a verdict in the case. Are we waiting on anyone else that needs to be here for the publishing of the verdict?
Not from the defense.
Okay.
Not from the state.
Okay. I am going to go ahead and, jury, I'm going to have them hand me the verdict form. I'll review it, and then I will publish it into the record. And then I'll hand it to the attorneys for them to review. All right, let's bring the jurors in. And your client can remain seated during the publishing.
Coming in.
Thank you. And if you would just have the foreperson sit on the end, please, Deputy. Thank you. You all can have a seat. All right, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I understand that you have reached a verdict in the case. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right, and are you the foreperson?
Yes.
Okay, if you would please put the verdict form in that folder. If it's not already, hand it to me and I'm going to review it and then I'll read it into the record. Okay. All right, let's see, make sure this is signed and dated by you as the foreperson, and it is. All right, in the case of the state of Georgia versus Teresa Black, we the jury find as to count 1 felony murder, we the jury find the defendant Teresa Black not guilty. As to count 2 cruelty to children, we the jury find the defendant Teresa Black not guilty. As to count 3, felony murder, we the jury find the defendant Teresa Black not guilty. As to count 4, cruelty to children, we the jury find the defendant Teresa Black not guilty. As to count 5, aggravated assault, we the jury find the defendant Teresa Black not guilty. As to count 6, concealing the death of another, we the jury find the defendant Teresa Black guilty. Signed and dated by the foreperson. Deputy, if you would show this to the attorneys, one of you. Okay, if you just give it to the attorneys for the state and for the defense to review. All right, anything further from the defense?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Does the state want to go forward with sentencing now, or do you want to wait?
We do, Your Honor.
Which one?
Oh, sorry. Move forward.
Okay, all right.
And Your Honor, the defense is requesting to wait.
You're requesting to wait?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, are there folks that you want to call that are not here? Is that? Okay. Is there any objection to doing that by the state?
We do have the father present, Your Honor. We
Okay.
have flagged him in.
Does he want to be heard today? Oh, it looks like he's walking out the door. He wants to be heard. Okay. I mean, I'll be happy to hear from him today, and he's welcome to come back. So you want to? He just stepped out though, but it looked like he wanted to say something. So
Yes, Your Honor. Would you like me to check on him?
yeah, why
Give
don't you
him a
do
minute?
that? Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I want to thank you for your service. This concludes your jury service, and we are appreciative of the time and effort that you put forth during this trial. You are welcome to, I guess we're gonna, if they want to hold off a little bit, we can hold off a little bit for the sentencing. How much time are you asking for?
A few days, Your Honor.
Well, maybe we could do it on, will he be here till Friday? Can he
May
come
I
back?
just check with my...
Check with him and see if he can come back. We can do it on Friday.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, well, regardless of when we do the sentencing, your jury service has concluded and you all are welcome to leave. If you would, but before you do that, I have your juror letters for you. So if you would step back into the jury room for a few moments and let me finish up with this, and then I'll come back and bring you your letters, and then you will be free to go. I'll tell you that attorneys often like to get feedback from jurors after the trial. If you are interested in speaking with them, I'm sure they'd be happy to talk to you. If not, you're under no obligation to talk with them, and they're not going to bother you or harass you, okay? But all of the rules that were in place, as far as not talking about the case or researching anything, are done. You are welcome to talk to whomever you would like, or not talk to whomever you'd like about it. And I will come back there shortly to bring you your letters. And yes, Ms. Hunter?
I don't have an answer yet,
Okay.
Your Honor, but we're working on it.
Okay, all right. Well, let's see what we can arrange. I'd like for both sides to be able to have their folks present. So, all right. You all are free to go back to the jury room, and I'll come back there shortly with your letters. Thank you again for your service. All right. how many witnesses, and who do you anticipate calling or bringing in for the sentencing?
Potentially your partner, or
Okay, so you don't know if that's even going to happen.
we haven't committed to that, Your Honor. I'd like to speak with
Okay. Why don't you, can you reach out to that individual now?
potentially, Your Honor.
What?
We would like to, she's still facing the felony charge here.
Yeah.
We would like to have some time to focus on our sentencing before we present it to the court. So we are asking for
Okay. All right.
We're happy if the court wants to hear from Mr. Hamilton today and split that up. That's fine with us.
Okay. All right. Well, let's wait and see what Mr. Hamilton says about his ability to be here, and I'd like to maybe try to do it on Friday. I don't want to put it off too long, if that's workable for him as well as for your witness. So, all right then, Madam Clerk. Okay. All right, while we're waiting to schedule this, is there anything else that we need to address?
No.
Okay. All right. Hang tight, and I'll give you all a few minutes, and I'll come back, okay? All right.
All right.
And
Okay.
prepare his thoughts for Friday.
Okay, all right, perfect. All right, then we will add this to, as far as the sentencing goes, we'll add it to the calendar for Friday morning.
Thank you.
All right, and I gave the jurors their letters, and I told them that they're welcome to talk to you all if you would like. Some of them, I think, would like to, so we'll be exiting out that way. So you can talk to them if you deem appropriate.
Should we go now?
You can. I don't think there's anything else for us to do here today, so thank you all.
Thank you.
We'll see you on Friday, and we are in recess.
Thank you.
1999. For years, this case was unsolved until a tipster saw a reconstructed picture of William and recognized the child as a former neighbor. Now, as we await that verdict in the courtroom, let me bring in my Law and Crime legal panel to discuss this case. And we have with us today, first, Gene Rossi. And the only reason I say that to Gene Rossi teased me the other day that he was coming on, but here he is. He, as you know, is a former prosecutor, now a criminal defense attorney, and actually has a war room named after him, which gets me in the Department of Justice because he tried so many cases, 2 guilty verdicts when he was on that side. And of course, let's not forget, attorney, trial consultant, Dina Sagdal. Dina, it is so good to see you back again so we can talk about this case. So let me go to you first, Dina. It seemed to me all the way through that obviously she was found guilty of concealing the death of her child. There was no defense to that. And that was, to me, was the biggest problem in trying to get the not guilties on the murder cases. But the jury found that the prosecution didn't meet any burden beyond a reasonable doubt. Your thoughts?
Yeah, and I think that well, first of all, it's so great being on with the both of you. I could talk about crime all day with the two of you, but you know, it's so many times when I talk to jurors after a verdict, I'm always astounded at how well they do at, you know, applying the facts according to the law as the judge has asked them to do. You know, we sometimes think that it's pure emotion, and I think they do a very good job at figuring out whether or not there's reasonable doubt and what there needs to be to overcome, you know, the presumption of innocence. And so it's kind of like they didn't buy into this guilt by association idea. You know, if she was guilty of concealing, it didn't mean that she was guilty of murder. And that kind of fine line, you would say, of not just lumping it all in, they did that. And that's what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Gene Rossi, I know when I've done mock trials for trials that are coming up, and then you'll listen to the jury doing the deliberation, and after they're talking about stuff, somebody will come up and say, well, wait a second, what is our duty? Our duty is whether or not the prosecution proved the case beyond a reasonable doubt. And in this case, that's the type of juror that the defense was looking for, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And I think what happened in this case is they just compromised. They figured, listen, she's going to be guilty of concealing, but we're not going to go that extra mile and find her guilty of murder. And I think the age of the case was the big elephant in the room. This happened in 1995 or 96, and there's no eyewitnesses. It's circumstantial. I think the jury, I could see how they had problems with beyond a reasonable doubt. Maybe preponderance, 51%, but not beyond a reasonable doubt. And it's so good to be on with Dina. Her only fault is she's not a UCLA Bruin.
All right, I'm going to take sports out of this because my team are the New York Jets, okay? So I'm going to take sports out of this right now. So let's talk about another I know he's going to laugh at me. Let's not even go there. Let's talk about another element here that we're discussing. So the medical examiner could not find cause of death, and because that manner of death, he was really honest on the stand, even though, and I said it before in the show, it bothered me the prosecution tried to bring in somebody else from some jurisdiction who was not a doctor, who had a doctor of pharmacy degree, who was basically a pharmacist, who worked for the cops in California, to try to say this child was poisoned when they couldn't get their own medical examiner to do so. That really bothered me. Now, Dina, it seemed to me the jury wasn't fooled by anything. They wanted the scientific evidence with their duties.
Absolutely. And that is, you know, so much does matter, the medical examiner, right? The cause of death, when they decide when somebody died, is also crucial, not in this case, but in many cases we see the time frame, the manner, the cause. I mean, you're trying to prove a murder here. And so you have to, an essential element of that is that this person was murdered, and they didn't have that. If the medical examiner can't say it, you kind of can't prove it but any other way. I think that's what they showed here.
Okay, now we're going to listen to something that happened in the courtroom, so I want you to stay with me and both listen with me and our viewers.
I'm going to tell you again the conversation she had with Ava. When she got to Atlanta, Ava told you all it was roughly about a week. A few days had passed. She felt she was at a payphone because she could hear the change dropping. And at that time, Ava knew William wasn't with her. And this defendant also confirmed that by saying he's in the room with my friends. And then Ava never heard from her again until she ran into her in Charlotte. At this time, William is long dead. William was there when that conversation was made. Because, think about this. Your best friend, you talk to every day, at your house, every day. And in an instant, no contact. None. The logical inference in that, knowing that Ava loved William, asked about William on that phone. She couldn't stomach it, but she didn't call her anymore. Either way you put it, whether you consider it concealing the death by putting William in a wooded area, covering him up with a jacket or a sweater, leaving him there for the maggots, and then lying to Ava, and then continuously lying to Ava because Ava continuously asked, where was William? She never let up, and thank God she didn't, because now William can get the respect and justice that he truly deserves. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm getting ready to sit down for a second, and then defense counsel is going to come up here. I'm going to suggest that he's going to tell you that this may have been an unfortunate mishap. That this defendant was young. That she didn't know what to do. But I disagree. She made a conscious decision in every action and in her conduct. She made a conscious decision to leave Charlotte with no family here in Georgia at 18 years of age, got on a bus and brought William here when there were multiple people more than willing to care for William until she got on her feet. But she didn't want that. She didn't want them. She didn't want William with any of his paternal relatives. And one of the reasons was because William Sr. had another child that he just so happened to name Dashawn. She gets here. She gets a job at Pleaser stripping. And she takes all kind of drugs under the sun, whatever they give her. Marijuana, whatever's in the pills, cocaine, didn't matter. She took. And she has a 6-year-old son here with her. She then begins to medicate him. He gets sick. And she made a conscious decision to continue giving him the medication. She makes a conscious decision to not get him help when he so desperately needed it. Those are not mishaps. Those aren't, oh my goodness, I knew something was wrong and I didn't do it, but I shouldn't be held responsible. No, she is responsible and she needs to be held accountable.
So Gene Rossi, as having tried, I don't know, you can tell us how many cases. The felony murder is when a murder happens to occur in the course of another crime, as we know, whether it's poisoning or assault, somebody dies. You don't have to have that intent to kill. And yet the prosecutor is speaking about conscious decision. So the jury goes back there and they're getting that jury charge that they had, that the judge read to them. And there's nothing about having an intent to kill there. Tell me, I don't get it.
You brought up a great point. Felony murder, the classic example. I burned down someone's house in the summertime when I think the occupants of the house are at Martha's Vineyard or Nantucket, okay? And I think the house is empty, but I burn it down, arson. But two friends of the people who went on vacation are staying in the house and they get burned alive. I committed a felony, arson, but I did not intend for the two people to be burned alive. That's classic felony murder. You hit the nail on the head. She's adding an element to the charge that's not necessary. And when the jury gets the instructions, they're going, where's the consciousness? It's a murder without any elements. So I agree with you. What I didn't like is using the pronoun I, and you never should say I in a closing or opening. Your opinions are irrelevant. Never say I.
As a matter of fact, one of the things I highlighted, Gina, but the word I disagree, it was one of the things I was going to bring up to you and to Dina, that the prosecutor was talking about, I disagree. And then she went from I disagree to leaving the child to the maggots. Now, that seems to be an emotional appeal having nothing to do with the evidence in the case. If you want to talk about how decomposition occurs, sure, they must have talked about maggots. But the cause of death, they couldn't really talk about here.
Yes. And, it's not. Is that me now? So it's not unusual for the prosecutor to want to kind of appeal to the emotion of the jurors. We see this a lot. It's a survivor's family member talks on the stand about what kind of person they were, the impact of the death, and the pictures of maybe the gruesomeness. Yes, it goes to evidence, but it also lends to kind of emotionality. So she's clearly there. Going into that, was there evidence introduced that they're actually maggots? And if there isn't, you start to almost sound like you have hyperbole. The jury can feel that you're trying to be theatrical with it, and you don't want to get to that, because at the end of the day, the jury is being told nonstop by the judge it's only about the evidence. And then if you, as the prosecutor who's in charge of presenting the evidence, looks like you are kind of needing to dramatize the event, I think it shows how less evidence you have, because otherwise you would be talking about that more. So there's that kind of fine line between wanting to humanize the victim and motivate the jury to find justice for the victim, and then kind of turning this into like a dramatic event that the jury knows that's what they're not there for.
Well, speaking about dramatic events, there was a very dramatic closing of the defense following by the initially dramatic opening. Why don't we go in and listen? This is Ryan Bozarth.
Ava said that she was with Teresa and William every day for 4 years. She never said she saw physical abuse. And we need to talk about this. She said that she saw nothing that would make you think she would hurt him. The state says that the Charlotte witnesses can tell you the state of the relationship between William and Teresa. That's the state of the relationship. The person who was there every day said she never displayed anything that would make you think that she would hurt him. That's the state of the relationship. The 2 times that she was remotely rough with him, the state just told you what Ava said. And it's up to you to remember what Ava said. The state used the words abuse, punch, threw, and struck. That's not what Ava said. Ava said once she kind of shoved him in the chest, but it didn't hurt him. And another time, she pushed him in the chair, but that didn't hurt him either. She said she didn't call defects, despite knowing she could, because it wasn't serious like that. She did not have a concern about her being violent to him. But the state just sat here, right where I'm standing now, and Miss Jackson told you that that was proof of abuse and that she punched him and struck him and threw him. They lied to you. That is not what Ava said, but they need it to be.
And Gene, Ryan Bozarth handed most of the forensic testimony in this, and he handed the forensic witnesses. And indeed, what they're talking about, he's talking about that punch. The separation of the skull appeared to be the separation, according to their forensic pathologists, of natural suture lines through decomposition, and the state didn't have anyone to counter that. Do you think that was important in terms of deciding there was no assault?
Absolutely. And I got to tell you this, that defense attorney did a great job by using the words of the government and showing that they are exaggerating, overstating. And I thought he said at the end that the prosecutor had lied. Maybe I misheard that. That's pretty strong language. But when the government overstates a case, punched versus pushed, through instead of another word, when they misinterpret evidence and misinterpret what somebody like Ava says, juries are going to remember that. And he pounded on that. And that was an Achilles heel in the government's case. I get the feeling in this case, the government knows they have a weak case and they need hyperbole and exaggeration to get over that beyond a reasonable doubt hurdle. But they know they got a challenging case, and that's their only prayer, is to put a bow and a wrapper around it, even though inside there's a present that's an empty box. That's what they were trying to do here.
Yeah, and I think the jury was well attuned to the fact that they wanted to bring justice to the young child, but they didn't want to commit a misjustice here in the courtroom by giving a guilty verdict based on emotion because it was a child when there was no evidence to prove exactly what had happened. I think the jury got it right. No matter how much people were going to want to criticize them, they got it right under the evidence, Gene, as we just saw. Anyhow, we're going to take a break here. When we come back, we're going to go back to the Young Thug racketeering case in Georgia. That's Jeffrey Young Thug Williams, as he's called, whether or not YSL is a gang, whether they're responsible for racketeering, murders, and all sorts of different crimes in the Atlanta area. We'll bring you into that courtroom. Some interesting things happened today.